What is good people? You are now listening to another episode of Since We Last Spoke with Danny Foxworth. I am your humble narrator, Danny Foxworth. And if you're watching on video, as you can see, I'm recording in a different environment. So basically, the spaceship, there's some technical difficulties going on there, but we're going to press on and we're going to make moves on the fly. So on this episode, I'm gonna recap my recent visit to Cincinnati. But before that, I wanted to talk about just a couple of random thoughts I had. So first random thought, no, if you don't know already, I'm from Moncks Corner, South Carolina. All right, I'm country as hell, and I say pecan instead of pecan. And I'm tired of y'all looking at me funny when I say pecan. It's a damn tree nut. I don't know why y'all trying to make it fancy. Look, if Method Man would have said French vanilla butter pecan chocolate deluxe, the song would not hit the same, and you know it. And the ones that pronounce it pecan or pecan, I know y'all say pecan right along with Method Man. Trying to act like you better than him just because you say pecan. Get out of here. And while we're on the subject of food, I was thinking, we should be able to carry tomatoes with us if like to a show or to a concert. So if a artist isn't performing up to snuff or up to a standard that we expect from them, booing them is cool. But if we boo the artist and they get pelted with tomatoes, that drives the point home even more. So I'm pro tomatoes at concerts. So that's just two little things I wanted to get out of the way. Tropical Storm Debby. I think since we last spoke, no pun intended, we had a tropical storm move through Florida and Georgia and the Carolinas. And initially, the amount of rain that they were expecting was they were thinking it was going to rival that of the 2015 flood, which was, that was crazy flood. But the first time, the pattern for Debbie was supposed to run through Georgia and the Carolinas and then camp out in the Atlantic for a while and then make its way back onto the Carolinas. The first run that Debbie made, I'm like, all right, crisis averted. We're not going to get as much rain as they initially thought. But while it camped out in the Atlantic, it strengthened, and then when it made its way back out to the low country, I was thinking Charleston was going to get it worse than anybody. Joke was on me. Unbeknownst to me, Moncks Corner is the one that actually got hit the hardest, and Moncks Corner is 30 miles inward, or 30 miles inland from Charleston. And it was raining heavy, and it was just a steady, heavy rain. I remember I sat out on the porch on Thursday night when it came back, and I didn't think anything of it. I went to bed at 11 o'clock and slept through all of it. And when I got up the next morning and cut on the local news, and I saw all these different reporters out in the field in different parts of Moncks Corner reporting how much flooding they got. And I was like, really? And then when I opened my back door, I was like, oh my God. I don't know if y'all saw the picture I posted on my IG and on my Twitter, but my backyard literally looked like an infinity pool. And despite the flood, I made my way to work. I got there right at around 8 o'clock, and it was me and two people that worked in the front office, and nobody else was able to make it to the job because the route that they take to work got flooded out. So around 10 o'clock, boss was just like, let's shut everything down and go home. So I get home around 12 o'clock. And by the time I get home, I was really taken aback at how much of the water had receded. So evidently, Mother Earth was way thirstier than I initially thought, because a lot of that water that was pooled up in the backyard had, for the most part, have been gone, except for the leftover runoff water that was in the ditch. But it rained so much. There was flooding in basically every road in my community, and it was just really fascinating to see all of that rainwater run off of the road and find its way in through the down in the ditch, and just made such a. This sounded like the Niagara Falls, damn near. And when I came home, my parents were standing by the big canal where a lot of the water was running, and they just sat up there. They put their folding chairs there and just took in the sights and sounds. and that was neat. I'm not gonna lie to you. That was cool seeing nature at work like that. And by Saturday, it looked like it hadn't flooded at all. I mean, it was wild. They estimated that Monk's Corner got hit the hardest. We got 22 inches of rain in the span of 5 days, and on top of that, a tornado came through came through the town of Monk's Corner and tore up an Arby's. And really, nothing else got damaged except for the Walmart that's across the street got minimal damage, but it was wild considering that a tornado came through and nothing else got touched but that Arby's. I mean, it looked like everything that was inside got thrown out into the parking lot. And then there was a car dealership that's adjacent to the Arby's, and one of the trucks got flipped over in the car lot. But luckily, I don't think there were any deaths, but yeah, it was just I had to go see it the next day for myself in person, and that was the first time, which I'm fortunate to not have to witness tornado damage like that. That was the first time actually seeing it in person, and just nature is a beast, man. It was really wild to see, but we made it through, Debbie, and I'm thankful for that. Now I want to talk about my recent trip to Cincinnati. At the time of this recording, which is on a Monday, yesterday, I took my trip to Cincinnati. It was something that I had been planning for quite some time. I wanted to knock some major league ballpark visits off of my bucket list, and Cincinnati was one of my places that I had on the bucket list. And on top of that, one of my favorite players in Major League Baseball plays for the Cincinnati Reds, a guy by the name of Ellie De La Cruz. And so I made sure that I penciled Cincinnati down for August. And they play the Kansas City Royals, who have another one of my favorite young players in the league, and a guy by the name of Bobby Witt Jr., who is one of the young guns. He's actually in the running for American League MVP. I think he actually leads the league in batting average now. He's hitting like 351 or something like that. But just planning the trip, and this was my first time flying on Breeze Airways, which is a low-cost carrier that flies out of Charleston. And lo and behold, as I'm looking at airfares, number one, they had the lowest round-trip airfare, and number two, they do nonstop flights to Cincinnati, which is a double bonus for me. Round trip ticket, I believe it was like $136. And granted, yeah, you got to pay for your seat, but again, for that to be the grand total, that I was like, man, let's do it. I'm all good with that. And I didn't carry any luggage with me. It's just a day trip, so that saved money that way too. So I get to the airport I wake up about a quarter to 5. I get to the airport around 5:30, and the flight leaves at 7. And normally the protocol is to get to the airport 2 hours before your flight leaves. And I got there at 5:30, and I was legit shocked at how long the line was to get through TSA. I had never seen it that long before, but even though the initial shock was there, seeing how long the line was, it was damn near out of the double doors, but the line moved extremely quickly. And shout out to TSA for doing their job and making sure everybody gets through with smooth without any interruption. So going through that was a breeze. And now sitting at my gate, waiting to board the plane. We get on at we start boarding at 6:30. Plane leaves at 7 a.m. Flight to Cincinnati is about an hour and 20 minutes. I think we landed at like 8:21. And by the time we get touchdown into Cincinnati, then what I do is I take the transit bus, actually. There's a transit bus that pulls up every 30 minutes to take you from the airport to downtown Cincinnati. And the bus fare was only like $1.50. And it's about a 25-minute drive because the Cincinnati airport is located in, I think it's Covington, Kentucky. Because those who don't know, Cincinnati is basically right on the border on the banks of the Ohio River between Ohio and Kentucky. but the airport itself is actually in northern Kentucky. And so the bus takes me into downtown Cincinnati. It drops me off on the corner of 4th and Sycamore, which worked out in my favor because number one, I was hungry. Number two, there was a breakfast spot that I had my eye on Instagram for the longest, a spot by the name of Wild Eggs. And that breakfast spot is about a half block from the bus stop. So I walk, it's like a 2 or 3 minute walk, and I get inside and it's packed in there, but there was available space at the bar, so I pulled up there and I had the stuffed French toast, which was insanely good. It was stuffed with it was like a sweet cream cheese, and it was topped with like light whipped topping and also blueberries and strawberries and walnuts on it. I highly recommend. I give that a 12 out of 10. That was extremely good. The atmosphere was great. I mean, I greatly enjoyed myself at Wild Egg. If you're in Cincinnati and you're looking for a breakfast spot, hit up Wild Eggs. So then I leave there and I walk down one block to from 4th and Sycamore to the corner of 4th and Main, because there's another thing that I've been doing my planning leading up to this trip. And so there's a streetcar that basically runs down Main Street and circles around the heart of downtown Cincinnati, but Main Street is the main route for the streetcar. So pull up to the streetcar stop and I hop on and make my way a few avenues up to Findlay Market, which, by the way, riding the streetcar there is no fare. It's absolutely free to ride the streetcar. And I make my way to Findlay Market, which my homie Jay Braze, friend of the podcast, he recommended to me. And buddy, that was a feast of the senses. It's basically like an indoor/outdoor market. And it was named one of the top 10 markets in the entire world. A lot of local produce, a lot of local meats, that just heavy emphasis on everything local. I mean, you could get, again, produce, you can get seafood. I mean, you can get breakfast there, you can get juices there that they make on site. I mean, it was really awesome just walking through there. They have several vendors in the market that make desserts, and they got a butcher shop, and just anything you want food wise, they have it. And when you walk out of Findlay Market, there's a huge outdoor dining area, and they have some bands playing, and they have some other musicians out there. And then on the side of Findlay Market, there's an additional outdoor market selling more produce. And then on the other side of the outdoor market, they have a bunch of different vendors in their tents, and they're selling like arts and crafts and clothing and art. There's one guy whose tent really caught my attention. There was a color pencil artist by the name of Kevin Harris. Super talented dude. His IG is Kevin_Harris_art, if memory serves me correct. And he had actually bought a Bill Murray portrait and a Larry David portrait from him. Make sure y'all check his page out. And he has an Etsy site where you can buy all of his prints from. So I got a couple of prints from him that I'm eventually going to hang up in the spaceship. Then after Findlay Market, I call an Uber and we jet across town to the Cincinnati Art Museum, which, before I get to that, I gotta say, one of my favorite things about Cincinnati is the fact that there are murals pretty much in every corner of the city. I mean, everywhere you turn your head, there's going to be a mural somewhere. If you saw my IG reel that I posted yesterday about my about just walking around downtown Cincinnati, that was just half of the murals I saw. I couldn't get all of them because I was trying to save trying to preserve my battery life. But I saw multiple James Brown murals. I saw multiple Bootsy Collins murals. It was insane how much art is in the city of Cincinnati. Now, back to the topic at hand, talking about going across town to the Cincinnati Art Museum. honestly, out of all the art museums I've been to, that's been the most impressive one I've been inside of yet. Just huge, I mean, just extremely spacious, so much dope art. They had a like as soon as you walk in the entryway, they had these two big replica, like the off-white Nike sneakers that I don't know what it was, I don't know what kind. It was some kind of metal, and had the Ohio license plate on the front of it. That was whoever did that, job well done. That was some super dope art. I think I actually captured that on my IG reel that you can see. And it was just heavy on African art and Asian art, and they had a 50 years of hip hop art exhibit upstairs, which was super dope because I got to see the actual works, the original works of some of my favorite hip hop photographers like Jonathan Mannion and Jeanette Beckman. And I'm such a huge fan of Jeanette Beckman. Like her photography captures like the golden age of hip hop, like in the late '80s to the early '90s. That was her particular discipline as far as her photography. And I was about to leave, then I saw that they had a gift shop, and so and unbeknownst to me, they actually sell art prints at that gift shop. So I'm thumbing through them, and I'm like, "Oh, these are nice." And then I saw a an Andy Warhol pop art piece that he did on Pete Rose, and it was only $20. I'm like, oh, this is coming back with me. I'm not, because if I don't pull the trigger on this purchase, I know I'm going to regret it. So I went ahead and made that purchase, and I'm going to hang that one up in the spaceship eventually too. And then walk out of the art museum, call my Uber, and we make our way down I-71. He drops me off at Great American Ballpark to catch the Cincinnati Reds game. That was an awesome experience as well. I get inside and I'm just blown away at how beautiful the ballpark is in person as compared to watching Reds games on television. And one of the first impressions is how spacious the Grand Concourse is. I mean, you have so much freedom to roam. I'd never seen a concourse that big in a ballpark before. And just the amount of food that they had, like Skyline. Of course, I had to get my chili con. I had to get my chili coney from Skyline, which, if y'all don't know, is Cincinnati style chili. It's basically a Skyline chili and this Gold Star chili. Those are the two staples in Cincinnati. And with Cincinnati style chili, it's very runny, and there's like a cinnamon / nutmeg taste to it that throws a lot of people off. And it is 100% an acquired taste, and it is 100% something that I'm a fan of. One of my good friends is from Ohio, and he actually served Skyline chili at his wedding a while back. So that was my introduction to Skyline chili, and I took my first bite, and it's been on ever since. So it was good to get my chili fix. So I got my chili cheese coney, and they had a slush puppy. They had a stand with, like, I swear it had to be like at least 12 to 14 different flavors of slush puppies. And I don't know how much it costs, but you can get unlimited refills. I was like, man, oh, that looks good, but I'm gonna pass on that this time. And just the ballpark food gets an A+ for me. It's incredible. Then got to see Ellie De La Cruz play. I mean, him and Bobby Witt Jr. Neither one of them really had particularly good outings that day. I think Ellie was, I want to say, 0 for 3 with a walk, and I believe Bobby Witt Jr. was either 0 for 4 or 1 for 4. Either way, it wasn't the best outing, but I mean, it's baseball. That happens. And by the third inning, the bottom fell out. I mean, it started raining like crazy, which I didn't mind because I was sitting out in the left field bleachers. I was probably about 2 rows up from the outfield wall, and I forgot to bring my shades with me, so it was a struggle fest trying to fight off that sun. But the rain delay, that helped out tremendously. And the Reds ended up losing 8-1, but I mean, they're sorry, so that's to be expected. And so I'm leaving the stadium, walking back down. The stadium is on it's right off of 2nd Street, so it's only 2 blocks from the bus stop. So after the game, basically I'm making my way back. I'm gonna make my way back to the airport. So walk up. It's like maybe the ballpark is maybe 3 or 4 blocks from the bus stop that I stopped at this morning, which was on 4th and Sycamore. So about a 15 minutes wait, and then the bus pulls up, which is the 2X bus. That's the one that takes you from the airport to downtown and vice versa. So take the bus back to the airport. Get back. I get to the airport. I arrive around 5 in the afternoon and get checked in. And my flight didn't leave until like 8:47 p.m. So I had a lot of time to kill. So I get to my concourse, go to the food court, get another coney from Skyline, of course. Then just walk around the airport, catching up on my podcasts that I didn't listen to over the week. And then when I get to my gate, it had the TV monitor and actually has showing the Las Vegas Aces game. So that was a good way to kill some time. And then like 8:15 rolls around, and it's time to load up the plane. And we load up the plane and we make our way back to Charleston, and we land in Charleston around 10:20, 10:25, and hop in my car and pay my parking ticket, pay for my parking, and I make my way back home. And that was, again, Cincinnati. Y'all owe me nothing. I had so much fun just making my way around the city. It's a lot. It's just a super dope experience. And the weather is also a big plus, because when I touched down in Cincinnati, God, it was like very little humidity to speak of. I mean, the high only got up to 80 degrees that Sunday, and I think the low was around like 65. But as soon as I touched down in Charleston and I get outside, that humidity just had me in a bear hug, like, welcome home. Good to see you. Man, I can't wait for the fall. This humidity will go away. But anyway, I think that's a good time to put a bow on this episode. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Make sure you like, download, and subscribe to Since We Last Spoke with Danny Foxworth. Tell a friend about the podcast. You can find my YouTube page. I'm at Danny Foxworth 843. You can find all of the videos for this episode, for episodes of this podcast, and also my baseball podcast, which is At the Plate with Danny Foxworth, and my new podcast, which is Growing Up Low Country with Danny and Liz. And I'm trying to get to 200 subscribers, y'all. I'm currently sitting at 195. So tell a friend to subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can also find me on Instagram at Danny Foxworth 843, and also Twitter at Danny Foxworth 843, but it's spelled a little different. It's FOXWRTH. It's only one O in my last name for my Twitter handle. And until next time, y'all be good. Peace.